Roll.
Ms. Casabon? Mr. Lauren? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Mr. Davis? Mr. Fitzmaurice? Mr. Doherty? Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. This is, excuse me, at this time, we would respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of the commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak before the commission, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card for our records. Each side will be provided 10 minutes with 5 minutes for rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of each case, when you exit, we would ask that if you wish to discuss any further, that you exit the building and don't go back into the back foyer, as it does echo into the chamber. This time, we ask you to stand with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Willie.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you to say thank you for all the blessings that you granted unto us. You watched over and protected us with your grace and mercy all day long. We thank you for that, Lord, and we thank you for this commissioner. We thank you for all of the parish government employees, and Heavenly Father, we thank you for the citizens and the residents that we serve. And we ask a special blessing on all of our high school graduates and college graduates that's going to another level in life. And bless those that are still in school studying to take their finals. In all these blessings, we ask, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In our board package, we have the April 11th, 2017 minutes. I'll entertain any questions or motion. Commissioner Davis.
A motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Please vote.
The vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Again, for the public's information, the AV system is not properly working, so we will not tally. It will be spoken by our secretary, and if anyone votes against a motion, we will have a show of hands. She will ask who voted against a motion for the public record. This is a public hearing. The public is invited to speak on behalf or in opposition or to comment on each of our cases. Entering parish right-of-way, servitudes and easements, we have none. Minor subdivisions, 2017-645-MSP, a 10.07 acre parcel into parcels A and B, Ward 1, District 1, owner Woodrow and Jill Hunt, Surveyor Land Surveying LLC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why the public hearing is required is one of the parcels is being accessed by a private drive. The owner is proposing to create 2 parcels from a 10.07 acre parent parcel, and since a private drive will provide access to only 1 parcel, said drive is not required to be built to a parish standard pursuant to section 40-045.01 minimum standards for a private drive of subdivision regulatory ordinance 499. Therefore, since the request complies with all code requirements, the staff has no objections to the proposed minor subdivision.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? If you would come to the podium, please. State your name and address.
Woodrow Hunt, 258 Gladys Road in Madisonville, Louisiana.
Any comments regarding your request?
No, not really.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we close it to the public and we bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren, or excuse me, Commissioner Casabon.
Since it's up to, the parish has no objection to this, and it's just to make sure it's a private drive. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Randolph, any further questions? We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Motion carries.
Thanks.
2017-646-MSP, Parcel A into Parcels A1 and A2, Ward 4, District 5. Owner, New Track West LLC, Surveyor John E. Bono and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Taladano. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reasons why a public hearing is required for this one is that both parcels being proposed are accessed by a private drive, and parcel A2 does not meet the minimum 1-acre lot size requirements for minor subdivision. The owner is proposing to re-subdivide an existing parcel, which is parcel A, within an existing minor subdivision into 2 separate parcels. Both parcels will share access to a private road, which is typically not permitted. However, when the original minor subdivision, which included a parcel A and B, was approved by the commission back in 2010, the rationale for approval was relative to the road was based on the fact that said private road was constructed to a standard that exceeded parish standards for a public road. Additionally, parcel A does not meet the minimum standard of a 1-acre lot size for a minor subdivision. However, it should be noted that the parcel is zoned for medical use that permits parcels of lesser than 1 acre in size, if not for having to comply with the minor subdivision 1-acre requirement. Therefore, for the reasons stated above, the staff has no objections to the minor subdivision request. However, if the commission decides to approve this request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the private road access and lot size issues, and a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission, which is 8 members, is needed in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100 waiver regulations of subdivision ordinance 499.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Yeah, my name is Jim Lark. I'm here representing New Track West LLC in this request. We have a representative from New Track, Shannon Marks. He's a member of the corporation. And I reside at 123 Chifuncta Park Drive in Madisonville. The parcel, if you need any additional explanation of where it's located just north of Lakeview Hospital, parallel to the entrance to the emergency room. It's zone MD3, Medical District 3. The history on the parcel, it was a 5-acre parcel at the end of Keystone Boulevard. It was originally divided in half, 2.5 acres on each side. A 3-story medical office building was built that is space is being leased to Lakeview Hospital, and this is the other 2.5-acre parcel. Right now, we want to divide the parcel into a 0.9-acre site to accommodate a 5,000 square foot periodontic surgery center, and then there'll be another 1.6-acre parcel that will be still available for another user. The retention is in place, it's been in place. There is agreements already for the maintenance of that retention. There's concrete road, all utilities, fiber optics, everything's available to the site. So anyway, if there's any other questions regarding the site.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve with the waivers.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve with waiver, second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Davis.
I have a question. With the 0.9 acres, you got 225 feet. Why not just extend it another 2 foot, and you have 1 acre?
Well, if you look at the survey again, we divided the property, and for economic reasons too, because it's a 5,000 square foot building that's going on that site. But if you look at that site, the retention pond is about a third of that 2.5 acres, and we've equally divided the remaining buildable land. You see, it's going to be 0.9 and 1.64, but the retention pond takes up probably about a half an acre of that. You with me?
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
why, I just don't understand why you're on Jimmy Code and just have two additional feet between parcel A2 to parcel A1, and then you're within total compliance.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not. We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve with a waiver, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Petitions, requests, we have none. Entering the Tammany Trace, we have none. Revocations, closing review, we have none. Re-subdivision review, we have none. Dormant subdivision review, we have none. Tentative subdivision review, 2017-629-TP, Wrigley's Estates, Phase 3A-1, Ward 8, District 13. Developer owner, the estate of Frederick J. Seeger, engineer GEC Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Michelle Blanchard. Staff.
Yes, sir. The developer is requesting postponement until the June 13th, 2017 meeting to work out some issues that they have.
Is the petitioner here? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll make a motion to postpone.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to postpone until, for 1 month.
1 month.
1 month, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner Casabon, any further? Again, we have a motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Preliminary subdivision review, 2017-586-PP, Simpson Farm, Ward 3, District 3. Developer owner, Prudent Creek Partners, LLC. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Postponed to the April 11th, 2017 meeting at the developer's request. Staff.
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary approval or preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following comments. Informational items: a complete hard copy set of the plans must be submitted, as well as complete PDF set. The TIA is still under review and subject to comment. Plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Louisiana Department of Health. No work order will be issued until all items are satisfactorily completed. A funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with Subdivision Ordinance 499, Section 40061.08, funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to parish roads resulting from construction activity in connection with the subdivision. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with Subdivision Ordinance 499, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Revised drawings, if required, will be submitted subsequent to the meeting and not before, so that any additional comments established at the meeting will be addressed and revised in the drawings.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of Prudent Creek Partners, LLC. You may recall that we came before you on this very project, sitting as the Zoning Commission a week or so ago, in order to modify the PUD because there were some planning issues, and that was to get the PUD plan in compliance with the preliminary plan that you see here before you this evening with regards to the width of the cross street, creating some additional space between the edge of the right-of-way and the recreation area, as well as taking care of some of the parcels on the north end. So the plan that is submitted to you now is in compliance with those PUD changes. In regards to Mr. Watson's comments, the informational items, Mr. McHugh's our engineer and has prepared the PDF set of the plans which needs to be submitted, and we are waiting on the LDH regarding the sewer and water collection lines. We hope to have that back shortly. With regards to the TIA, we have submitted the comments necessary to some of the issues that staff raised. I would remind you that this project received preliminary, believe it was in 2014, so it expired because we had not moved forward, which required us to come back before you. We did a traffic study at that time, which was approved by staff and approved by this commission, and as the parish ordinance requires, we had to build in a growth factor for the surrounding areas. We did not, the area did not exceed the growth factor that was used for that report in 2014. Nonetheless, we did have to go back out and take some new counts today. Those counts have been taken, and it confirms that we did not exceed that growth factor, and so that the findings were by and large the same as they were before. The report in 2014, as with this report, will require a turning lane at Penn Mill Road, and it's either at Penn Mill or Pruden, and Highway 190, which we are working with the parish on the cost sharing for that improvement, but that will be done as well. So we would respectfully request your approval of preliminary subject to the staff's comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, it's Nelwyn McInnes, and I'm with the Nature Conservancy, and we're in Abita Springs. We are a conservation organization that has a number of properties here in St. Tammany. I'm familiar with a number of you. It is our understanding that the drainage for Simpson Farms will go through the Nature Conservancy's property, and we do not, it goes into an intermittent stream that goes to Horse Branch, and we do not give our permission at this time. We are still trying to work with H2O Systems on an adjacent and downstream subdivision, Pruden Creek. They do not have their DHH permit because they do not have our permission to put that treatment on us, but yet homes are being built. I don't understand how homes can be built. You don't have your scenic streams permit, you don't have your DHH permit, you don't have landowner permission for the effluent, and now you want to build a bunch more homes that will go probably to that treatment plant at Pruden Creek, or it'll go to another subdivision operated by H2O, which is Penn Mill, which is further up Horse Branch, who the LDEQ website shows are regularly in violation and have had to make amends in the past. So we do not agree. We do not see why take this step, this preliminary step to approve Simpson Farms when they haven't gotten all their ducks in a row on one that they're already building just a quarter mile away on Penn Mill Road. We really think this needs to be postponed once again until you can talk about road widths, but let's get real. You've got more serious things that they don't have lined up yet. And we are a wetland mitigation bank. We are a nature preserve. We're on a scenic river. And we do not give our permission for this sewage to go on us until we can work together for a tertiary treatment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? This time, Mr. Marone, 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With all due respect to Ms. McGinnis, I think she's confusing two issues, so let's take them one at a time. There's effluent from the central sewage system, and there's stormwater drainage. Kind of confused the two a little bit there, at least for me. So let's talk about those. First, as to both of them, respectfully, we don't need her permission to get this subdivision approved and constructed. Secondly, with regards to effluent, we are going to be tying this development into the Pruden Creek sewer treatment plant. That plant has undergone extreme scrutiny. It's a new plant as to where the effluent would be discharged. That has been resolved through the state. There has been piping done so that that effluent is being taken away from the Nature Conservancy. So I would respectfully suggest to you that your staff is well aware of that effluent location. The state is well aware of that effluent location, and it is not required that we receive approval from Ms. McGinnis or the Nature Conservancy for that location. We do need your approval of our preliminary submittal. We do need the state's approval for where that discharge point is located, but we have the state approval, and we respectfully request your approval this evening, mindful that it is not going to impact the Nature Conservancy. With regards to the stormwater runoff, very different from sewer treatment effluent, but as you are well aware, whether any portion of this stormwater runoff from this property ultimately makes it to the Nature Conservancy does not mean that we need their authority to do that. They are bound to take the waters that flow from upstream. So if we're flowing to them, we're upstream. They got to take it. Your requirements tell us that we have to reduce the runoff post-construction by 25% in a 100-year storm event. Our plans do just that. If I am mistaken, I know Mr. Watson will surely correct me, but I believe that we are in compliance with your requirements. I also don't believe that all of our water goes that way. But even if it does, then there is not anything by law or by ordinance of this parish that would prohibit us from doing exactly what we're proposing to do. And the plans that are before you this evening are in compliance. There is no reason whatsoever, respectfully, to deny this request this evening or even table this request this evening. You have a very stringent set of rules, as does the state of Louisiana, that cover each of these issues, and we are in compliance with each of those, and we would ask that you approve our preliminary submittal this evening based on that and in accordance with your staff comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGinnis, 5 minutes to rebut.
Thank you. Well, I've been in communication with DHH this week, and they, Ms. G. Gu with DHH here in St. Tammany, and she, I have an email from her and a copy of a request from Kelly McHugh with H2O Systems to change the route for the Pruden Creek subdivision. That route goes to what they call a parish-maintained ditch and then to Horse Branch, both of which are on us. It is not a parish-maintained ditch. It is very sinuous. It has trees in the channel. It has low banks. There is no, we've owned it since '03. There was nothing in the title that gives St. Tammany Parish the right to come in and do that work. It's never been done by them or anyone else. That is the only way. They do not need our permission because it's an intermittent stream, and DHH requires that you must have landowner permission if it's an intermittent stream, unless it's called a parish-maintained ditch, which it is not. I have communicated with Ms. Gina Campo this afternoon. I've sent her pictures of the stream showing that it is not parish-maintained, and to meet with her department heads to get this resolved. If indeed it does not go on the Conservancy, I have no problem. But the DHH said that this week they got an application from H2O Systems to route this effluent from Prudent Creek on us, and it's my understanding they want to take Simpson Farms and treat it at the Prudent Creek. So that's why I'm talking so much about Prudent Creek, because it is very much linked to Simpson Farms. I am not talking about stormwater. I know that we will be accepting the stormwater, but we do not want the effluent without tertiary treatment. I think because we're both in such disagreement, I think this needs to be postponed. I don't think all the information is clear before you to make the right decision. And we're going to be meeting with the parish and clearing this up. And so within a month, you will have updated information to make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll close it to the public and we'll bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes. Mr. Morone?
Yes, sir.
The issue as it relates to the affluent flow, and Prudent Creek. Can you better educate us on that process, please?
Sure. Well, Ms. McGinnis is correct that the effluent from this subdivision will be treated at the Prudent Creek wastewater treatment plant. The outfall of that plant, the location and nature of the discharge of that plant is a state inquiry and has to have state approval. That is not something that this commission approves. That is a state issue. It is my understanding that that plant has the necessary approvals from the state to discharge, and that their discharge is in conformity with that approval. So whether there is a request to relocate that is really not an issue for tonight. It has nothing to do with whether this project meets your ordinances. That's all this approval is about. We don't come to you and ask you to approve our construction in wetlands, right? We go to the Corps of Engineers for that. You approve it subject to having state and federal permits. This is a good example of that. And so we are going into a permitted system, and the route by which we're taking to do that is compliant, and we believe that system is compliant. If between now and the time that a work order is pulled for this, there is an issue that would prohibit us from doing so, then we would deal with it at that point through the appropriate channels. But tonight, this evening, as it pertains to the preliminary inquiry that's before you, I would respectfully suggest to you that we are in compliance.
Commissioner Davis.
Paul?
Yes.
I have some general questions, other questions. I see the development will be built in 3 phases. Is that still correct, or are you going to try to develop it all at once?
No, the intent right now is still to do the 3 phases that you see there.
Okay, is that a recreational area in phase 1 or 2?
It is in phase 1, but it exists today.
Okay.
Which is a little unusual.
Okay, and the retention pond's already built?
The retention ponds are not built. Okay. No, they will be constructed by the phase. In other words, the pond needed for phase 1 will be constructed likewise for phase 2.
Okay, so that's the south pond.
That is correct.
Phase 1. And I'm just looking at where the rear of phase 1, it looks like the flow goes back instead of front to the front south pond. It looks like if you're looking at your drainage plot, it breaks at around lots 45, 46, 35, 36, and 12 and 13, and 99 and 100. Everything flows to the back. Where is that going to go if you're not going to build a retention pond in the back for phase 1?
Well, we'll have to build whatever's necessary to handle phase 1, we're going to have to build that. So if there is the break point there that you're talking about, and I see what you're talking about, it looks like it's around those numbers, then we'll have to make sure that we have retention capacity in that direction.
And who's going to maintain those retention ponds? Are we? Is that going to be a parish, or are you going to?
I believe those are going to be maintained by the homeowners association.
Yeah, that's what I
I
thought
believe.
so. Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Paul,
Yes, sir.
long follow-up on the maintenance of the retention pond. Will this subdivision have mandatory homeowner association dues?
It will. It'll have detailed restrictive covenants that will mandate the creation of the homeowners association, mandate dues, and also provide lien enforcement mechanisms to collect those dues.
Okay, that's an important part whenever you start talking about maintaining retention ponds and everything. I'm having a problem seeing where the outfall is on these ponds. And maybe I'm just not reading the drawings correctly. On the north pond, I see where there's a drain and access servitude, but I can't see where the water's coming out of that pond. And on the bottom one, on the south pond, the only thing that I see is AA, which the arrows show it coming in, but by the same token, there's a South Pond outfall section AA on the bottom of the drawing.
Right. I think with regards to the South Pond, and I'm having a little trouble reading it because of the size of this, but I believe that the South Pond outfall is to the south into the Pin Mill ditch,
Okay.
and I believe that the North Pond outfall would be along the east side near that existing ditch. Excuse me, the west side, excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry. It goes on the west side, it goes underneath the road and into that existing ditch along the west side of the property that you see.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's what I didn't understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Willie?
Paul, and I got a question of staff as well. There's an existing building on the recreational area. Is that to be used? What is it? Or is it going to be something else? What?
That was yes, the existing building was the old Simpson Sod office.
Okay.
And it consists of a rather large heated and cooled area where the actual offices were. I'd say 4 or 5 rooms, a kitchen, and so forth. And it has continued to have the electricity operational these years since it hasn't been used. So it will be used as a clubhouse and a meeting facility. The rear of it has what I would describe as a large, very large covered area. I don't know if Mr. Simpson maybe parked equipment under there at one time, but it will be refurbished so that they'll have picnic tables and additional outside meeting space there.
Okay, question of staff. I'm back to the effluent. Would the developer need state or federal permission and everything before we give them final approval?
Before they get a work order, they're going to have to get they're going to have to do a wastewater treatment plant expansion at Prudent Creek, and that's going to have to be approved by LDH.
And what happens if the discharge point is not approved by the state?
If they don't have any, they're going to have to get those approvals before they get a work order to start construction. So if they can't get that
preliminary
worked
and
out,
final, or between final and work order?
no, in between the preliminary hearing we're at now, the next thing they're going to do is try and work towards getting all their items resolved so they can get a work order. If they can't get these items resolved, then they won't get a work order and they won't start construction.
So we have another chance to look at this before final? No?
No, it doesn't come back to the commission. It's just, it's staff review to make sure that everything is in compliance with ordinance before we issue a work order for them to start construction on the subdivision.
But it has to be done before final though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, Paul, this has come up many times. The last time we put in, which was even farther away, the Pin Mill. We're aware that, I can't remember exactly what we did, but there was lots of representatives from the Covington-Vinson Airport that we made sure that I guess, I can't remember what we did, where we made the people aware that this was a flight area.
Correct.
And that no disturbance, and this is even closer, if I'm not mistaken, to it. It's still some leeway, but what?
Yeah,
do
there
you
were some
remember what we did?
there were some very detailed obligations that the developer took on at Penn Mill, but also here.
Okay.
When this PUD was originally approved, dealing with the flight path,
Right.
notification in the restrictive covenants and on the plat about the proximity to the airport, fencing along the east side of the property. All of those obligations were reduced to writing with the representatives of the airport, remain in place, and we are obligated to do each and every one of those for
Okay.
this.
Just wanted, for the record,
Yes.
to note that, that the airport is there and stuff. I don't know how many have been out there. There's some of these areas within this particular area, if you've ever been out there, you wouldn't be able to see it unless you were taken there. But behind this Vincent Airport, if you'll see the road turns, there is many, correct me, Paul, if I'm wrong, but there are canals that have been dug. I think they were, one was by the parish and stuff, and it's kind of behind there. There are other drainage, deep drainage, areas that the parish has used and made. I do know that Horse Branch, where there's a curve in there many years ago before we did the last one, it was raised significantly and huge culverts put in. That was always a flooding area for the road, and we don't have that anymore in that particular area. So steps have been taken to actually improve the area as far as drainage, and I think the councilman and everybody involved in this is aware of the conservatory. We've always been sensitive to it, that it is protected, and I think the H2 systems is new. Am I correct? Then we didn't have that in place when we did Penn Mill. Is that correct? And then they had to do something, and this is what they did. They established a newer.
Penn Mill's a separate treatment plant.
Correct.
So it's not going to be, it's
But this one,
different.
they designed to be able to handle everything that we put in there. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments? We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Motion carries. 2017-605-PP, Perilou Trace, Ward 1, District 4. Developer owner, Perilou Properties, LLC. Engineer, Aero Engineering and Consulting. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Michael Lorino, Jr. Postponed at the April 11th, 2017 meeting at the developer's request. Staff.
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following comments. On the preliminary plat, number 1, radii on the cul-de-sac detail are not shown in the proper locations. Typical section and signage, sheet 2, radii on the cul-de-sac detail are not shown in the proper locations. Plan and profile sheets, revise all sewer length callouts in the plan and profile sheets. The full length of the pipe between the manholes should be used. Sheet 6, remove the callout for an 8-inch to 4-inch reducer and revise the 4-inch water line to an 8-inch water line, as the 8-inch water line is required. Sheet 7, revise the water line to match what is shown on sheet 9. Water line and sewer force main layout, sheet 9. The layout of the fire hydrants do not match the location shown on the plan and profile sheets. Revise accordingly. Revise the note stating extension along Perilou Road under the existing road and drives at all crossings will be bored. Informational items. Plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by LDH. A copy of the core permit and updated coastal use permit must be submitted. A copy of the plans must be submitted to H2O Systems for review, comment, and approval. No work order will be issued until all items are satisfactorily completed. Any additional comments that arise from further review A funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with subdivision ordinance 499, section 40.061.08, funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads resulting from construction activity in connection with the subdivision. An additional maintenance obligation in the amount of 5,935 linear feet times $5 per linear foot for $29,700 is required for the construction of the water and sewer lines within the Perilou Road and Shelby Marie Drive right-of-way to ensure the repair of any damage to parish roads from construction activity in connection with the installation of the water and sewer lines. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with subdivision ordinance 499 since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Revised drawings, if required, will be submitted subsequent to this meeting and not before, so that any additional comments established at the meeting will be addressed in the revised drawings. The Department of Development Planning has the following comments.
Comment 1, the development is zoned A4 single-family residential. Therefore, restrictive covenant number 2 needs to be amended to depict the correct setbacks for side yards, which is 10 feet on interior sides and 20 feet on corner lots, and for rear yards, a 25-foot minimum setback. Comment 2, the adjacent zoning classification depicted on the north side of the subdivision is incorrectly shown as rural, when in fact the zoning is A2 suburban. Therefore, the developer needs to make the proper corrections to the plat.
Mr. Shane.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and Honorable Commission. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm. I represent the owner of this development and the petitioner, Perilou Properties, LLC. We are in accord with all staff comments, and that includes, of course, the suggestions as it relates to revisions. I'd like to be a little more specific and go over the various requests made by staff so that you'll know what we're intend to do. Under the preliminary plat comments, items 1 and 2 are typos that will be corrected on the drawings. Items 3, the sewer is in fact shown correctly on the sewer plan, but the profile sheets need to be corrected to be consistent with the sewer plan, and that will occur. Kind of a ditto for item 4, the 8-inch water is shown correctly on the water plan, but again, not on the profile sheet, so we will correct the profile sheet to make sure that they're consistent. Items 6 and 7 are simple nomenclature or corrective measures that we will take. And under the informational items, the plans have been submitted to the parish. At the appropriate time, Mr. Watson will submit them to DHH. As to item 2, we're very close to procuring the core permit, but we recognize that no work order can be issued till, in fact, a core permit has been presented to your engineering department for their review and inspection. As to item 3, our plans and specifications have been approved by the utility company H2O. The Planning Commission, or I should say Department of Development Planning comments, there are 2 of those, and certainly those are 2 corrections that will be made. I would like to make a few other comments that I think would be of significance and may also help you, because I anticipate some comments from the public tonight in connection with this case. I do think it's worthy that you know and understand that this project received both tentative and preliminary subdivision approval in March and April of 2007. I'm not suggesting that that means that it should or needs to be approved tonight, but I think it is important for you to know that but for the lapse of that approval, essentially the same layout, design, et cetera, had been previously approved. However, I think there are some other things that you might find of interest that we bring to the table tonight that maybe weren't as clear back in '07. Certainly, we have central sewer and water facilities in Perilou Road that's provided by H2O, which we'll be tying into. We also, of course, will be reducing drainage from this site, the rate of flow by 25%. You'll see the 2 detention ponds to the front of the subdivision where the water is collected. We also have agreed to clear or clean out around 220 feet of the Perilou Road ditch running south where this water will go, so that the water will have an easy travel route into the creek and be able to get off site. I know that there were also some concerns expressed by some of the residents at the last meeting to me after the case was postponed, we had a discussion about traffic issues. And I would only say that because this is a small development, 25 lots, your ordinance does not require the production of a traffic impact analysis. That's not my way of suggesting that 25 lots doesn't generate traffic. We know that it certainly will. I will only tell you that the standards created by your ordinance suggest that it's not incumbent upon the developer to produce a traffic impact analysis to the parish with a subdivision of this size. So we feel comfortable and confident that we have met the requirements that the ordinance calls for as it relates to preliminary, and certainly ask that you consider granting preliminary subdivision approval this evening. If any of you have any questions or comments at the appropriate time, I will be glad to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the petitioner? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am. And again, I would ask that you be provided 10 minutes. We'll hear all the comments, but if you agree, no, there's 3 of you, is that correct? Okay, we should have plenty of time. If not, we'd ask for a show of hands. Yes, ma'am, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Jamie Jacobson, 385 Perilou Road, Madisonville. Okay. Firstly, obviously this council is totally different than the council that went through this process in 2007. And in the same manner that that's changed, obviously Perilou Road traffic patterns, drainage, and everything else has been impacted since 2007. So the relevance of the 2007 pre-approval has nothing to do with the situation. I think y'all would agree today. So starting from fresh right now, I would like to say that as far as the comment about not being specific about traffic patterns, I would completely disagree, and I think that as all of you that live here in St. Tammany Parish, and I'm assuming have children and or grandchildren, any of you that have those riding a parish school bus needs to seriously consider before you first or second this particular drainage and traffic issue. Think about your children and grandchildren getting on a bus. This road is dangerous, and if you weren't aware of it, you are tonight. I have video footage on a daily basis from my home security camera. 2 buses cannot pass in opposing directions without one hitting the ditch. It is not a large enough road for 2 opposing large vehicles, much less buses. I have vehicle parts weekly in front of my home. My mailbox, which is set back appropriately, has been taken down 3 times in 2 years. I think everybody else has probably had the same. So you have a very substandard road. So for those of you that are going to first and second this, please consider your children and grandchildren like ours that are on this substandard road. And there does need to be a traffic study. 2007 has nothing to do with the increase of traffic that is going through this road today. Okay, so secondly, next would be the drainage. I understand that he's having the drainage pond on the end closer to the Perilou. If you also have ever driven through this road on just a heavy rain, not a serious rain, there is water crossing the street. Now, where are these drainage ponds draining to and from? And I can't imagine that this is going to be a better situation, that we're going to now have more homes taking up more of this. And this is wetlands across the way. There are 3 tributaries across the way through this whole thing. What are they doing with those? Where's this water going? We already have water crossing the road on a substandard road with buses that can't pass each other. So you see, my issue is that we just keep compounding the safety of our children. Before you think of anything else about real estate development, I'm talking about safety of children, 40 of them in a bus, that one day, if one of those buses hits the ditch, my personal house has the deepest ditch on the entire road. When a car went through it last time, it was sideways. You could not see the car. If there's water in that said ditch with 40 children in a bus, I ask you all, are you okay with that? Secondly, Army Corps of Engineers, I have been on that property. There are palmettos, which I know is an Army Corps of Engineer issue. There's plants for wetlands and so forth, not only just the tributaries, so there's plant issues as well. I would also like to ask, you know, that y'all please do take this seriously, as if you live there, between the traffic, the drainage, and most importantly, the safety of our children riding the buses and things that are going through there, that you please don't just pass this through. This is trying to be, it feels very rushed. We haven't had a decent traffic pattern since that school opened up on the end, and I think that people need to really, really look at this. The people that run the barn down the road had to come in the S-curve, if you've ever driven through there, and put gravel just so the buses can make the S-curve. We don't even have pavement for the buses to ride on. If you look through, each side of the road has divots where when the buses are coming opposing, somebody's got to give. So it has serious issues. Before we start adding that amount of homes, which is going to also increase the traffic, take away from the drainage, and again, I'd say to you, think of the children and the safety. Nobody, I think, on this council wants to rush through a project and have your name first and seconded when a school bus goes over in a ditch and 40 kids are laying over in a ditch full of water. Please consider it securely that, you know, it's on your conscience. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Who else is speaking? Yes, sir.
Mark Weber. I live at 106 Weber Way in Madisonville. First off, he mentioned that back in 2007 that it was approved. Well, I'd like to also bring back to go back to 2004, I believe it was, when he was denied, and based on the comments by the council, the petitioner is requesting a change of zoning. The site is located on the east side of Parish, south of Brewster. The request rezoning meets the 2025 future land use plan, which calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. However, the staff feels that requested zoning is not appropriate for the area, considering the site surrounded by the undeveloped tracts of land on the north and south side zoned rural. Also, the lots located on the west side of Perilou appear to meet the minimum lot size of 22,500 square feet under rural. That hasn't changed. We're still the same houses on the other side of the road, and just like she stated, the traffic we can't handle that anymore on the street. I'd like to also, from the St. Tammany Parish website, in Section 40 of the Zoning Commission, it says the developer of the proposed subdivision must request a zone or zones which comprises a zoning district classification prescribed by the Land Use Ordinance number 523 that conforms as nearly as possible with the proposed land use lot size restrictive covenants. We have restrictive covenants on Perilou that says he can't buy a piece of property and subdivide it into a subdivision. And I don't know if y'all have that, or if we have copies of it, or if you want it. I've also like to file this petition that we've come up with. I have 100% opposition from Highway 22 all the way to Brewster. Every single resident on Perilou is opposed to this. I have signatures from the residences behind the property off of the Gitz Road, property and residents from Bell Point. They all travel these roads every day. Yesterday morning, I'm bringing my kids to school. There's a bus in front of me. There's a bus coming at me. They can't stay on the road. They literally have to drive off both sides of the road just to pass one another. Just like her, my mailbox has been knocked over twice. My electricity pole has been it was cracked in half. They had to come out and replace it. To add 20 to 25 more homes on this, or to add 25 more homes would mean 50 to 75 more cars a day. I mean, there's no way this road can handle the traffic. God forbid my kids go out by the road. I'm a little bit off the road, but if they do like to come down the driveway, if they go out on that road, it's only a matter of time until something horrific happens. There's no way. I mean, I'm sure you've driven down Perilou. It's just not a wide road. And ever since the school was built, the traffic has had to have tripled, doubled, or tripled. I just don't see where that this is going to make things better for the residents of Perilou. In part of the covenants, the last one says, these restrictions are intended to protect the investment of each property owner and may be enforced by injunction or other legal remedy by an owner of property within 500 feet of the line of the offending property or property owners. I mean, we're here to tell you we oppose this because of the way Perilou has been designed and the way back in the day when the covenants were presented, there was lot restrictions and I just don't understand why we're allowing him to go in and subdivide a piece of property that we have covenants that says he cannot do this. So I'm begging you, and every person on this list feels the same way. Can we file this so you can see it, please?
Yeah, you can give it to staff.
I think that's about it. I mean, I really am worried and concerned about the safety of our families. I just hope that you would hear us on that.
Thank you, sir. Was there one other person? Yes, ma'am. We're going to give you about a minute.
My name is Debbie Clawwitter.
If you would pull the microphone down to your... Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, my name is Debbie Clawwitter. My husband and I live at 198 Diane Lane. We have the property directly east of this subdivision, proposed subdivision. We've been out there about 25 years. We moved out there because it was a rural area. It was nice and it was quiet. Recently, with all the building that's been done in that area, the drainage issues have just become horrendous. We live at the end of Diane where the road goes downhill, so all the water drains down on us. And we have a real concern about what's going to happen to the water on the rear of our property. We have the 5 acres that butts up right to this proposed subdivision to the east, so we do have a major concern about what's going to happen there. I don't want to beat a dead horse here with the traffic, but the traffic is horrible. Brewster Road is horrible. The parish has not done a good job in keeping up the road. Perillou's even worse. I mean, when we moved out there, Perilou was a gravel road. So it just was not designed to handle this. And with them building the school at the end of Perilou at Highway 22, it's become a major traffic issue. So anything you can do to give us some help here, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This time we'd close it. Mr. Shane, rebuttal.
I'd like to address first the traffic issue. I don't doubt that the petition has been signed by everyone that it may have been presented to, but quite frankly, that's not an unusual phenomenon in that all of us, whether we're natives or no matter how many years we've lived here, there's not many people that typically are in favor of having more development in areas where they live, particularly where the infrastructure may be stressed. My plea to you tonight is not that Perilou Road is a state-of-the-art road. It's that Perilou Road is an adequate road, that your staff has not presented any reason to you that preliminary subdivision approval should not be granted. And so I think to suggest that the impact of 25 lots is going to be devastating as it relates to safety is an exaggeration. My guess is that many of the fine people that live out there now that have signed the petition are in fact a part of the infrastructural woes that everyone lives with out there. And I really believe that a lot of what I've heard this evening are very valid and profound statements, things that need to be looked into, but I suggest that they're probably more global in nature, and there's something that probably the councilman and the council need to address. And I say that with all due respect to the comments that I've heard, but I'm not really sure that they fall within your ordinance as it relates to preliminary subdivision review standards. Now, I would like to talk about drainage because I do disagree with the comments made this evening as it relates to drainage. And that is that, yes, life will be better as it relates to drainage after this subdivision is constructed. And how so? Well, you are aware, but also I will hope that the public will understand that your drainage requirements do a couple of things. Number one, they're going to Is that you? No.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. They're going to force the collection of water, and there will be no random flow of water to the east, north, or south. All of the water will be forced to the west. Number two, all of the water will be collected in the 2 detention ponds in the front. Number three, all of the water will be discharged at a rate that is 25% less than the rate today while the property is undeveloped. Number four, as I said earlier, the developer is going to clean out the ditch along the east side of Parallel Road so that the water can get into the tributary and ultimately to the Black River. So the suggestion that the development of this subdivision, number one, doesn't meet your drainage requirements as per ordinance, or number two, is going to make the drainage matters worse, I simply don't think there's any fact to that. So I believe that we have done our job. Now, I would, again, of course, remind the commission that this is not a zoning commission tonight or a zoning inquiry. But I think it is important to note that the property is, in fact, zoned A4. And, in fact, that zoning was confirmed or, I guess, certainly perpetuated by virtue of your 2009 comprehensive zoning study. So we have not brought to you as a zoning commission in the last 6 months a request for new zoning. In fact, the zoning is in place, meaning that the lot sizes, which I think really are pretty handsome for a subdivision, being 90 by 135, we think are very appropriate for this area. My client has owned this property since '04. We are not aware of any title impediment or restriction that would prevent the re-subdivision of this tract. But if that is the case, I would suggest to you that that's a civil matter. That is not a matter as it relates to government regulation or planning commission consideration. I'm not suggesting lack of respect to the comment. I'm only saying that there's a time and a place. And I think the suggestion that this property can't be re-subdivided is a matter of restrictive covenant or title, a civil matter. So in summary, I'd like to say that the focus this evening, it seems to me, should be on Ordinance 499 and in particular the requirements for preliminary subdivision for this development. And it looks to me like the staff comments have not suggested to you that all of the safeguards that the parish requires, those safeguards are in place. The few things that we need to correct or amend, we have agreed to do so. So for that reason, we ask that you grant preliminary subdivision approval this evening so that we can go forward with our project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Opposition, you have also 5 minutes to state any further comments in rebuttal.
Maybe it's not the specific interest of him in safety, and that's not what he thinks he's here for tonight, but I put before you all as Parish of St. Tammany councilmen that our children here are important to you. And that, you know, again, the people who would first and second this immediately tonight need to please, on their behalf of the children and grandchildren that y'all have, think of our children's safety getting on these buses, on these streets with this increased traffic. Maybe that's not what it's about tonight, but it needs to be, because it's on y'all's heads, basically. We have brought it to you that it is substandard roads. They're not lined. They're not wide enough. They are not fit for the traffic now, and y'all are going to approve, if you put this through tonight, increase hazards to these children. It is a safety issue tonight, sir. Whatever, I'm not a lawyer, but I know children's safety is above all other things, and that is something y'all all should be very impressed with tonight. The road is substandard. He has not addressed properly the drainage issues. We do not have that in writing, and we do have a covenant. If he doesn't have it, then he doesn't have what he needs in order. There is a covenant by Miss Olivier signed to this property. Each and every one of us, upon buying the property, had to sign that in the real estate agreement. So it was given to them. They just may not be putting it forward. I don't know why. But there was a covenant.
And to that point, ma'am, what Mr. Shane has stressed, covenants are civil matters.
Okay.
We do not. the
Okay,
parish
but
does
I
not
didn't, I
enforce
hadn't heard it spoken
restrictive
before
covenants.
tonight. We just wanted to make y'all aware that it is a possibility that that may be coming forward. We may be doing that as well. But as far as what y'all are addressing here tonight, with zoning and things like that, it was not ever zoned. And when it was preliminarily done before for that, that was not what it was intended for, this land, because of the tributaries, because of the planting that is in the area. We all had to go through Army Corps of Engineers as well. And get, I mean, we're just dumping more, again, I'll go back to the safety. Drainage, substandard roads for the children. And please look at it carefully before you push it through and let him do this. We need a little more time to really work this out and see if we can, get the children safe before we move everything else through. This project is going to dump so much more traffic, which is going to increase the safety of the likelihood of some sort of terrible injury to children. I don't know how else to stress it more than that. I live here, I watch it every day. Any one of you are welcome to come stand in my driveway between 3 and 4. Knock on my door, come and stand in my driveway, and let's watch the buses hit the ditch together. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishes to speak in opposition and rebuttal? This time I'd close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
I have a question for staff. Jay, is there any current projects for Parish Road to be enhanced?
For a widening of Parish Road?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that right now.
Okay. I have another question for the young lady that was just up here, Ms. Jacobson. Yes, sir. Have you contacted your councilman?
I didn't know. I thought I was calling the wrong one, but apparently we have a different one. I was looking at the one that's doing this project, but apparently our street has two, like depending on what side of the street you're on. But I have also made 2 complaints to the St. Tammany Parish School Board over the issue of the buses. If you also want to encourage you to call St. Tammany Parish, all of the bus drivers are up in arms about this as well because of this substandard road. That is available to you from the St. Tammany Parish School Board. I personally have sent them video and also made complaints of the bus situation for them. The bus drivers are very concerned about it.
Okay, well, again,
I'm sorry, what
you need to do is talk to the councilman, both councilmen, if one's on one side of the street and one's on another side of the street. That's an infrastructure situation that this commission, not council, this commission, it doesn't handle. Okay? As far as the preliminary findings and what has to be done, I don't see a problem with actual granting the preliminary status on this development. Now, for your situation there, again, I reinforce, you need to talk to your councilman about the road conditions.
Okay.
Because they have a budget and they can go ahead and do things to the roads. And especially if you have one on one side of the road and one on the other, they can do a share cost. I mean, I'm just saying that's how it works.
Yeah, so, so safety isn't an issue here.
No, safety is an issue, of course, but again, you have to contact your councilman on this one hap. This is purely from a subdivision review to see if it meets the requirements for what we're given to meet those requirements.
Okay. And is everything done on there properly through Army Corps of Engineers, the drainage and all that? Because that was the other issue.
Yes, it had to be done.
Well, I thought it was still pending.
There's no way they would get final subdivision approval, which is the next step.
Okay.
If they don't meet all those.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of the questions, from, as Commissioner Davis said, from the public will come up on Army Corps permits, Louisiana Department of Health permits. All of those must be done prior to them going to final. Nothing can, every subdivision, all planning must be complete. That goes back to staff. Staff monitors that. And then at the time it would come to final, that would all be done. Else it cannot be completed.
Well, have they completed all of the paperwork at the last meeting? There was lots of addendums and revisions and things like that.
Staff, they have done everything that's required to bring it to the preliminary hearing, and that's where we are right now. Yes.
Okay, well, I will definitely be in touch with our councilman, but that doesn't take it away from this meeting to me that everybody responsible here is also responsible because they're aware. No one can say they didn't know.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, Mr. Shane, the core permit, I missed, when do you expect that to be back in hand?
I was just discussing that with my client a few minutes ago. He showed me a text that he got today from the Corps indicating that they're waiting, I think, the receipt of one more document. They actually gave us instructions as to how much the checks should be made out for, where it should be sent, et cetera. So it would be my hope that the Corps permit would be issued the next 30 to 60 days. Well, he says within a week. I said 30 to 60 days because I've spent a few more years with the Corps maybe. Well, I just know how these things, sometimes they don't get out of the basket as fast as everybody wants. But I think to answer your question, though, we believe the requirements have been met and that the permit will soon be issued. But in any event, we understand that there will be no work order to start any work, I don't need anything, on site until we get all permits or approvals from all agencies.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice, no. Commissioner Drum.
Jeff, you should know by now, always stay close.
I can try.
I was looking at one of the drawings here and for the flood zones. And flood zone A, you're going to have to bring some fill in for that?
Yes, we know that we're going to have to distribute some fill.
Okay,
Yes.
and then what happens to the land on either side when you bring in that fill? What happens to the land on either side? What does that have to do with the drainage then?
Well, the drainage plan has been designed to accommodate the adjustment that will be made from the cut and fill or the grading plan.
Okay, because to me, that means that you stop right there, and then how far down will you adjust for the drainage plan on that?
Well, at the end of the day, we are going to make sure that all of the water has a fall due west into the detention ponds, so that although there may be fill that's either cut, taken out, or placed on site, the integrity of the drainage plan will not be challenged as a result of the fill work that we do, and that we will construct a drainage system that has elevations that take the water to the west. All of the water will be collected. None of the water, for example, the lady that lives behind the subdivision to the east who said she suffers from some water now, as a result of this development, all of the water coming from this track will go west. Am I not connecting?
I turned off my mic, it's my fault. The drainage to the north and to the south, you have, how far would your responsibility go with that then?
We're not handling any water off-site.
Okay.
Now, we have to accept any water that might come onto the property now, naturally. But one of the advantages of the development from a drainage perspective is that all water that gets on the site now, it's going to be force channeled. It is going to be directed to the west into these two detention ponds. There will not be sheet flow across the track onto other parcels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the commission? Are there any motions? Commissioner Davis.
With all the information being said, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any other comments? Please vote. Oh, Commissioner Davis.
An additional comment, please go talk to your councilman about the road conditions out of Parish. Well, again.
I called the councilman yesterday, and I'm...
In all due respect, as Commissioner Davis said, he's counseled, contact your council person. The commission has nothing to do with that component, but that's the appropriate place to go. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I live in the area, Indian Trace. I believe Michael Reno is the councilman for the area. If you contact him and he would like to have a meeting to discuss that, I'll attend as well. Not that it's in my purview, but as a resident. So I will help to accomplish that with you if you like.
Any further comments? Again, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Vote is 8 yay, 1 nay. Will the commissioner that voted nay please raise your hand for the record? Thank you, Mr. Drum.
Motion carries. And the commission is very cognizant and concerned about all public safety. But again, as spoken, those are issues that are handled by our council members, and we find them very attentive to that. 2017-638-PP, Oak Alley Meadows, Ward 3, District 3. Developer owner, Lonesome Development, LLC. Engineer, Sigma Consulting Group, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Developer requests postponement until the June 13th, 2017 meeting. Staff?
Nothing further to add. The developer requests to be postponed until June.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Manella. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell firm, representing the owner and developer of Oak Alley Meadows. We received staff comments, and we felt that it would be wise for us to postpone this month so that we could better address all of those comments in a more comprehensive manner. We hope to be ready to come to you at your June 13 meeting and would respectfully request that you grant a postponement.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll make a motion to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Lauren to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further comments? Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Motion for postponement carries. 2017-639-PP, Maison du Lac, Phase 2, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, WBB Realty, LLC. Engineer, Richard C. Lambert Consultants. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following comments on the erosion control plan. Show the proposed location of the construction driveway entrance and the SWIP posting on the erosion control plan. If the location is to be determined by the contractor, a revised erosion control plan showing the location of each construction entrance will be required prior to a work order being issued. Informational items, plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by LDH. A copy of the plans must be submitted to Tammany Utilities for review, comment, and approval. No work order will be issued until all items listed above and any additional comments that arise from further review are satisfactorily addressed. No maintenance obligation is required since this is an extension of a private subdivision. No mandatory developmental fee will be required at final submittal in accordance with 499 since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the May 9th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of WBB Realty LLC and the Wayner family, who are the developers of this project. I've spoken with Mr. Lambert's office, our engineers. He has confirmed that the erosion control plan has been revised to address the construction entrance. Also, he has advised that Tammany Utilities is in receipt of the sewer and water plans, and we're waiting on their responses. So subject to any questions that the commission may have, we would respectfully request your approval, subject to your staff comments.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Robert Springman, 742 South Cornish, Dulac, Covington, in the Maison Dulac subdivision. I guess it's more of a question because I'm concerned about the sewer collection lines that the lift stations are adequately built that are currently in place unless they intend to add another one, which, again, without having the preliminary plans or the specific plans from the Louisiana Department of Health, I don't know that that's the case.
So you're questioning capacity issue?
Yes, because right now everything drains, the water collection drains into the lake. The lake it has an overflow. However, recently they added dirt to that overflow, added trees, added grass, so basically instead of the overflow being at whatever level, now it's higher. So I have a concern about that as well, because they're not maintaining the lake well. It's not draining after every rain as it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to actually drain north, but I'm not the engineer, so I'm just here expressing some concerns that I have and that I have from my neighbors, that we'd like to be sure that the lift stations are adequately designed with the additional homes, and that they do take a look at the lake as it is the only place where all the water runs off from the streets. So again, not as an opposition, but certainly as a concern as a resident who lives in the development. Now, will these plans, when they are approved, be presented before this council, and will the residents still have another chance to come back and look at them?
For final, yes.
Yes, for final?
Yes.
That is true? Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
Staff,
Thank you.
Jay, if you would speak.
The hydrologic study that was done for the entire subdivision took into account this phase. So the pond was sized to take into account drainage for this phase, and the same thing with the sewer. The sewer lines and the lift stations were designed to have the capacity to handle this phase.
So at any time that they are not at capacity, they'll be required to add capacity?
Exactly.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition or have comment? Mr. Marone, any further comments?
No further comments, other than I would just remind everybody that the peninsula that is this phase originally had vastly greater density than we're proposing. There were townhomes, apartment-type facilities on here, and we actually reduced the density greatly to the single-family residences. So we're comfortable that there's more than adequate capacity for sewer treatment as well as in the retention pond area.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. This time I'd close it to the public, bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, Mr. Marone? Paul, the gentleman mentioned the fact that the lake is not being maintained properly. Is that the responsibility of the developer or the homeowners association?
It would be the responsibility of the homeowners association, though I venture to say that Mr. Wayner is probably still in effective control of that association. So that would be news to me that the pond was not being properly maintained, but I'm certainly going to bring that to Mr. Wayner's attention.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Davis.
Paul, I got a question for you, too.
Yes, sir.
Bear with me on this one.
Okay.
If I'm on South Cornish, Dulac, and I enter, how do you pronounce that road? Boucher Dulac?
Yes. That's exactly how you pronounce that, Mr. Davis.
Okay.
The star.
If I go down that road on the right-hand side and I get around lot number 5 and I have to turn around, do I have to go all the way around to get out?
Yes, you'd have to make the loop.
So you're almost forced to make the loop, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, what about as far as trash pickup and stuff? Is that going to be a problem? Do they pick up trash on both sides? I thought they always pick up trash on one side. Are they going to have to go around, they come back and go around the other way?
I don't think that will be a problem in,
Okay, all right, I was
such
just
a
asking, that's all.
relatively small area.
Okay, that's all, I was just asking.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve with comments from the staff, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Final subdivision review, 2017-640-FP, Beatico Creek, parcel 12-B, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, Beatico Creek Preserve, LLC. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 27th, 2017. The inspection disclosed that all of the concrete road shoulders have been constructed and the roadside ditches are functioning. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. Need base test results, concrete test results, utility trench bedding test results, utility trench backfill test results, revise the as-built paving and drainage plan to include invert elevations at each property corner. The sewer plan states that the lift station is in parcel 15. The sewer plan and the plat must both be revised to include the lift station within a servitude that will be recorded in parcel 12B. In accordance with Section 23-419, $515 are owed in sewer fees for commencing construction of the sewer infrastructure without a work order. See attached fee sheet. The LDH permit for the relocated sewer force main must be provided. A negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not yet been issued by LDH as required of 4070 of the Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance 499. A letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system is required by the utility provider. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,368 linear feet times $25 per linear foot for $34,200 for a period of 2 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line, and revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the May 9, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plan.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone again, this time on behalf of Beatico Creek Preserve, LLC. You may remember that 12B is a byproduct of 12A and the separation of parcel 12 that I came before you a month or so ago, and you approved that parcel. This is bringing parcel B in behind that. And so because of that process, there's a little bit of confusion, and I'd like to try to clear a little bit of that up. For example, items 1 through 4, which are the base test results, the concrete test results, and the trench results, I believe that all of those were duly submitted as part of 12 before 12 was split into 12A. So those are done. If we need to resubmit them as part of 12B, we're certainly happy to do so, but they are done. As far as the revisions to the plats that we see in items 5 through 9, 5 through 8, those are all completed and ready for submittal if in fact the commission chooses to approve our request this evening. We have not remitted the $515 fee, but are prepared to do it at the appropriate time if it is approved. The LDH permit for the relocated sewer force main, that application has been sent to LDH, and we are waiting on that permit as we speak. Finally, with regards to the letter of acceptance, Mr. Tarragona with Tammany Utilities has advised that he has inspected all of the facilities, that they are approved, and that all he is waiting on to issue the final letter is the as-builts, which I mentioned will be submitted as soon as this commission approves the request. So all of the items are either already addressed or prepared to be addressed through a submittal that is ready to be made to Mr. Watson at the appropriate time. So with the staff comments, we would respectfully request your approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding the staff comments that you have or 12B in general.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve, subject to all of the conditions laid out in the staff report.
Motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, subject to all staff report comments.
Second.
Commissioner Randolph, second. Any further comments? We have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, subject to comments, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Motion carries. 2017-641-FP, Grand Maison, Phase 3-B, Ward 4, District 5. Developer owner, Grand Maison Development, LLC. Engineer Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Taladano. Staff.
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 27, 2017. The inspection disclosed that all of the concrete roads are constructed, road shoulders have been constructed, and roadside ditches are functioning. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of final inspection. On the final plat, revised the typical street section to show the as-built roadway design, revised the typical section on all applicable sheets, as-built paving and drainage plan. On the as-built paving and drainage plan, show a cross-section for the trail system. The trail system is not shown on the plat or on the drainage plan for Phase 3B. Update the plans to show the trail or remove the cross-section. Provide a legend for the as-built paving and drainage plan. As-built signage and stormwater pollution prevention plan. Revise the SWIP and signage plan to read as-built. The as-built SWIP and signage plan does not show any speed limit signs on the east side of Chateau Fleur. Revised to include a speed limit sign for the northeast flowing traffic. General, need base test results, concrete test results, blue reflectors at fire hydrants. The following note needs to be replaced on the plat. Side loading will not be allowed on Lot 193 until the roadway is paved. The comments regarding bacteriological report and the letter of acceptance can be omitted since they've been submitted to our office. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,700 linear feet for $25 per linear foot for $42,500 for a period of 5 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line. The revised drawings will not be accepted prior to May 9 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone again on behalf of Grand Maison Development, LLC, and Phase 3B of Grand Maison subdivision. The plat revisions that are items 1 through 5 and item 9 on the staff comments have been completed, and they are ready for submittal. Obviously, we had these comments as of May 2nd, and we had time to do that before the meeting, but will not submit per the current regulations until after the meeting. And the blue reflectors are in, and the base test results and the concrete test results have been completed as well. So there's no additional work on our end. We would respectfully request your approval this evening, subject to the staff comments, and I'll answer any questions any of the commissioners may have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request?
Just Bill McHugh, St. Tammany Farmer. I don't see a location in the staff report. Could I get the location?
It's south of I-12 on Highway 59 on the east side.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I move to approve based on staff comments.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve based on staff comments. Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Proposed amendments to Ordinance 499, we have none. Old business, Greenleaves Village, Phases 1 and 2, Ward 4, District 10. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Maureen O'Brien. A request by the HOA to convert the streets and drainage from private to public. Staff?
Honorable Commissioners, the HOA has requested that St. Tammany Parish take the following infrastructure into the maintenance system: concrete roadways and subsurface drainage within the road right-of-way. All other infrastructure will be maintained by the HOA. The roadway and subsurface drainage have been inspected and are satisfactory. Therefore, it's recommended that the attached ordinance be approved for action by the Parish Council.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request?
I'm here from the HOA. I'm in favor of it. I mean,
If you would come to the podium, sir, and state your name and address.
Dennis Tozan, 84 Colonnade Court. I'm the president of the HOA.
And the HOA, as a whole, the board has
We
voted.
have gone through the process of the covenants, had the vote. It's all been submitted. The signage is in compliance with MUTCD, the new ordinance. The roads have all been maintained. We replaced a failed panel, and that's all been inspected and approved. I'm not aware of anything that should keep it from being accepted.
And again, the homeowners association is in favor.
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close it to the public. Bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Thank you. I have some very good friends that live in that section and visit them quite frequently, and I know the roads are in excellent shape and the development's in excellent shape, and I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner Dougherty?
Yeah, question to the gentleman from Greenleaves. Y'all have mandatory dues?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay.
And it's in our covenants that we will maintain the signage. That's part of the ordinance. Okay.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
MS 15-05-021, a 19.855 acre parcel into parcels A through E, Ward 5, District 6. Owner, Citadel Residential LLC, surveyor John G. Cummings and Associates, Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Richard Tanner. Request by owner to waive the detention pond requirements. Staff?
Honorable Commissioners, the detention pond for the minor subdivision was approved as a wet detention pond. The detention pond was constructed by the developer and was constructed to a depth that now holds 8 to 12 inches of water in lieu of the required 5 feet. Subdivision design requirements state that a wet detention pond must be designed and built so that 5 feet of water remains in the pond. No waiver of this requirement can be granted by staff. However, Section 4045 Minor Subdivision Review, subsection E5 requires that if a waiver of an applicable regulation is requested, then the applicant may appeal said request to the Planning Commission in accordance with Section 4100 Waiver of Regulations Ordinance 499. The applicant's representative, Mr. Josh Folkway, has requested a waiver of the 5-foot requirement. See attached letter dated April 19, 2017. Since this is a private subdivision in the 5, property owners will maintain all infrastructure within the footprint of the subdivision in accordance with an infrastructure maintenance agreement that will be convected before plats are recorded. The Department of Development Engineering has no objection to the waiver requested. A copy of the as-built drawing is furnished for your information.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
How would does this affect the surrounding area at all?
No, and it's going to provide the detention at some point in time in our ordinance. A 5-foot depth was required.
Okay.
But it's not going to affect surrounding areas.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Will not.
Second.
One second. Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Davis.
A question. Jay, the 5 property owners don't have a problem with this, according to what you just cited? Do we have that in writing somewhere, just to verify that? Do they have to sign off something saying that we don't have a problem having a retention pond gotten rid of in our little area?
Well, the 5 separate lots, I don't believe this is a minor subdivision, so in order to get the final approval and the plats recorded on this, they need to have this go through. So they haven't been sold off to 5 individual lot owners yet.
Excuse me.
So nobody lives on these lots yet?
No.
The plats haven't been recorded yet because they have to finish this process.
Okay.
Commissioner Dougherty.
Jay, did I understand that by not having this retention pond, it's not going to have an adverse effect on?
No, they're going to have the detention pond, and they're going to meet the detention requirements in our ordinance. It's the depth of the pond, the static water elevation of the pond is not 5 feet deep. We require ponds to be 5 foot, to hold 5 feet of water at all times. So in this pond, however it was constructed, it wasn't in accordance with the approved plans, which showed that it was going to be 5 feet deep. Now the pond has been constructed, and it only is holding, I think, what did it say, 8 to 12 inches of water. So it's just not, it's almost a dry pond, which we approve dry ponds, but it's a large pond where they've already dug it. They would have to go back and do substantial work to it to make it into a dry pond. So it's going to provide the drainage and storage requirements that the detention is supposed to have. It just doesn't have the static water depth of 5 feet. It's going to be a very shallow pond instead of a 5 foot deep pond at all times.
But it meets the 25%
Yes.
reduction? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, it's a mother, and these are the children around. It's like a homestead area that they did this, and then they got somebody to do the pond, and found out they weren't within the regs. But it's a family thing, minor subdivision. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Willie, any further comment?
Dave asked a question. Still with that.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Vote is unanimous with 2 absent.
Any new business to come before the commission? Motion to adjourn.
My better days. You like those?